Please welcome your host, the director of Iron Man and Iron Man 2, and an executive producer of Avengers Endgame, Happy Hogan himself, Jon Favreau.
So, welcome. I don't know how many of you attended the Infinity War press conference, but it was hosted by the Grandmaster himself, Mr. Jeff Goldblum. I'm here this time, and this may all look very familiar to you. I'm happy, no pun intended, that's what it says in the card, to be here with you today to do the honors. I've been involved with the MCU, as most of you know, since the Marvel Universe was a screaming toddler, and now it has grown into a big, vast family, and I'm very proud. It's a bit surreal, I'm going to be honest with you. It was a wonderful choice, I think, on my part, to give myself a small cameo in the first one, because I've been working ever since, and thanks to the Russo brothers and all the directors since then to include me in this. Without further ado, now I know you're all excited to be here as we count down to Avengers Endgame, the grand conclusion of 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So without further ado, please welcome the cast and filmmakers of Marvel Studios' Avengers Endgame. Well, and we are fortunate enough to have a few of the other people that survived the snap joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Birthday Boy Paul Rudd, Karen Gillan, Brie Larson, Chris Evans, and Jeremy Renner. What a handsome group. Beautiful, lovely set of thespians and behind the camera talent. Let's start with where it all started, Mr. Robert Downey Jr. I have a question here on the card. When you first suited up as Iron Man, could you envision Tony Stark's arc and where you wanted to see the character go? And how did you approach building such a memorable character?
Did y'all bring a bag lunch? Hi, John.
Hi, Robert.
I've been thinking about this recently. There's always two tracks, at least in my mind. One is The Sky is Falling, and the other is The Sky's the Limit. And as we had those many discussions in the high desert and shooting the film, I'm reminded now that I was talking a lot of smack, saying, wait till you see where this goes. But in the moment, I was just hoping day to day we were making good scenes and getting good stuff in the can, and, you know, usual gobbledygook. I just wanted to not drop the ball.
And when you, it's so special. What is this movie in particular?
Well, what's special is all the actors on this stage, all the actors who are not on this stage. And as you said earlier, the family that has come together this decade plus. And the fact that Robert said it so well in the trailer, part of the journey is the end. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we all started talking about doing something at every turn, including the first Iron Man film. We talked about, how can we do something that's never been done before? What if a superhero outs his identity at the very last shot of the movie? We can't do that. No one does that. You can't do that. What would we do next time? I don't know. Let's do it. 4 or 5 years ago, we talked about what haven't we seen in films based on comic characters we haven't seen in Endgame, a definitive conclusion to an overall saga. So that is why it's called Endgame and why I think it's very, very, very special.
Movie into Endgame, the story is very much about how do these characters, how do these heroes deal with loss? Resounding loss, true loss, devastating loss. That's what they've experienced in Infinity War, and that was a unique experience for all of them. And how does a person move forward from that moment? How does a hero move forward from that moment? And you know, the way our road into this story is, how is everybody on an individual level dealing with that experience, and then how do they collectively deal with it?
Yeah, you know, look, it's this is, I think, a really unique experiment in movies, this grand mosaic. It's, I don't know, depending on how you count it up, 11 franchises that have been interwoven into one big narrative. And I think, you know, a lot of people have invested a lot of heart and soul into the characters. And you know, when we take these movies around the world, it's really it's heartwarming to see people come up to you and say, hey, you know, I started watching this with my classmates when I was 10 years old. Now we're all 21 and we're all going to go see this together. Or my parents have taken me to every movie, or my grandfather's taken me to every film. And you know, it's a real sense of community and sharing in these stories and believing in them. And I think you know, with Endgame, we get the opportunity to you know, finish off one of the grandest experiments in movie history, and bring it to, as Kevin said, an epic conclusion. So what we're hoping for is that people feel satisfied with the conclusion.
Hi, Guerrera. Black Panther introduced your character Okoye to the world. Now she is fighting besides the Avengers. What makes her such a respected and well-liked character? And also, congratulations and thank you for the breadth of energy that Black Panther brought to the Marvel Universe. I think it was something that was truly significant and helped keep the franchise feeling fresh and new, and it was a wonderful film.
Thank you. Listen, it was an amazing honor and joy to be a part of it. And, you know, once again, it was, you know, the beauty of being here today is being amongst this amazing franchise that's done all this work over this course of time is, you know, we got to be embraced in this universe and be a part of it. So that was such an amazing part of it. What I can say about Okoye, because I can't speak to, oh, you like her because that sounds a little like, well, I'm white. No, what I can say is what I love about her is that she's very unapologetic, and she's a traditionalist in the sense that she believes in the sovereignty of her nation. And I guess that really resonated with me because I was born on the continent. I was born here, but I was raised on the continent. And so seeing a country like Wakanda, which has had no history of colonization and became so powerful, and that she is like the guardian of that nation in a sense, was something that really resonated with me. And I really got to work, you know, collaboratively in a gorgeous way with the awesome Mr. Ryan Coogler, who really allowed me to imbue her with the idea that she, you know, she has a good time. She doesn't have rage issues. She doesn't have that going on. She loves her life. She loves her country. She loves her people, and she'll do whatever it takes to take care of what must be done. And at the same time, there's a fierceness that I think she has, that also she kind of unapologetically also embraces her femininity. So it's been really fun to get to you know, see her in all these different ways, because when I was talking about this yesterday with Scarlett, the first day of Infinity War, when they all came to Wakanda and we were coming onto their set, you know, and we opened that tent door, that tent whatever flap, and they're inside, and they're like, all the Avengers sitting there, like, oh, hi, you know. That's the minute you realize you're a part of a universe, which was pretty awesome.
A character through his own franchise and in the Avengers as well. And what do you like? And what do you like best about playing him?
Why are you so great? Just tell us now.
Mr. Evans, why don't you answer this for me?
Has it?
Has it now?
Okay, no.
Out of all the Chris's, no?
I'm curious.
Well, I mean, just to echo something you were saying before, Anthony, about the first time that the Marvel Universe came into my universe back in Australia. I was sitting there, and I don't know, I would have been just straight out of high school and watching Iron Man 1 and thinking the same things, thinking, oh my God, imagine, I wish I could be a part of that world. And then a few years on, getting cast in it as Thor and having the opportunity to embark on this thing, and at the time I thought, was this film even going to make it past DVD or even, you know, make to the cinemas, or was I going to be recast, all those sort of questions. And look, I think to answer the question, what made it so special for me was just the different people I was able to work with. You know, from Kenneth Branagh to that first film, was really, I sort of was completely in his hands and was basically willing to do whatever it takes and wherever he needed me to go for the character. And then through the films with each director and each different cast member, I learned something different from. And by the time about Ragnarok I felt like it finally had enough sort of confidence to go, okay, well, what is it that I could possibly bring to this? And then had this great collaboration with Taika, and really decided to do something different and see how we could make it unexpected and unique. And then I remember calling Joe and Anthony and saying, look, I've got this new version of Thor that we've just shot, and I want to continue that version. I don't want to do the old version. And he said, well, we've got an even newer version for you. and it was, you know, and then as was this film here, and it's just about the people that's made it so special and I think unique each time with any of our characters is everybody you get to interact with, and the fact that we're all willing to you know, be open to what new possibilities lie ahead of these franchises and these characters, and it's been a pretty remarkable journey.
What has it meant to you to play him, and what do you like best about Captain America in this film?
In this film or in general?
On the card, it's this film. So
Okay,
you know, please stick to the.
Well, I guess I can give broad strokes. I think just the completion of the arc. I mean, that's safe to say, right? That this movie does kind of provide kind of an ending to a lot of the.
Judges? I'm sorry, we can't accept that answer.
There is a you know, a 22 film tapestry. There's, you know, he's been through so much, and specifically with.
Let's just talk about Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, really. As we should. Yeah, I don't know. There's been so many wonderful elements of working on this movie, and I'll echo what Chris said. Just truly, not to it could seem like a safe answer or something, but really, honestly, the friendships and connections I've made over these 10 years now, it truly has become a family.
How am I supposed to answer that without ruining everything?
I don't know. The same people are telling you don't say that anything.
I know,
Just
sometimes
who
I feel
wrote
like
the
this is all like
questions.
a test, like
So it's a
Willy
little
Wonka or
confusing.
the
Well, let's go a different way. You've had a hell of a run here, not just as an actor up until this point, but then showing up on the scenes, Captain Marvel, making tremendous impact and stepping in a situation where all of these people who are surrounding you have been cornered into a seemingly untenable situation, and you're set up in the end credits, and everybody is anticipating. Most people who aren't familiar with the books didn't even know who Captain Marvel was, and then there in the post-credit scene, they're given a clue, and everybody cheers, and there's excitement. And now you have to introduce everybody to you through the film, and then show up on the scene here in the MCU. So really, it's like in the World Series having somebody called up as a designated hitter with the bases loaded. How does that feel? What's that experience been like?
I mean, stressful now that you put it like that. I felt kind of chill, but now I'm scared. So I hope you guys did a good job. You know, I came at just the most magical time, I think. To come exactly at this 10-year anniversary, and really my first introduction to everyone was the 10-year photo, which was a really remarkable and special day, and super surreal, and also like not allowed to talk about it. So the whole thing has always felt like a dream. And this film will always be personally dear to me because it was my first time playing Captain Marvel. We shot this first. So I had to stumble and try to figure out who this character was with no script for this and no script for Captain Marvel either, and perform for the first time in front of, you know, legends. But it was incredible. I mean, I think the other part of it too is the set feels like this balance of, as big as it is, it still feels like a bunch of kids, like just like what I was doing over summer break, making movies in my garage. There's still this sense of wonder and play and encouragement, and of course this film deals with some heavy subject matters, and so you're bouncing in between things that feel very deep and serious, and then we're going off and playing Boggle, which I am very good at, just to be clear. And so it's nothing, there's no other word I can describe it as other than surreal, and I'm super excited for this to come out, mostly just so that I can talk about it. I want to be able to talk about my experience, which I haven't been able to do for a very long time.
No, it does feel like family. It's a family that you wish you had, in a way. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but it's a little bit different press conference than the last time. It has a little bit sort of sadness to it. I mean, we're all talking about like we're dead. Oh, I loved working with these guys. It was great knowing them. You know, they're great. They were great Boggle players. There's something very bittersweet about this moment, because you know, as actors, we're like vagabonds. We kind of bounce around. We have these intense relationships, and then you don't see anybody until you get nominated for something, or you're nominated in something, and you end up in an award ceremony.
What's that like? Speak for yourself.
But you know, like this is the closest thing that any of us really have to, unless you're, you know, it's the closest, unless you're in several franchises. It's the closest thing you have to continuity and friendships and watching people grow up and have children and get married and then get divorced and then get remarried.
All right, well, you don't have to.
All of you, when you go out in public, you need security because of mobs of little children coming after you. And with your, whenever you do leave, Chris, and everyone else, the franchise, do you see yourself in 10 years being at a nostalgia convention signing pictures?
This is a complex question.
We're only going to answer the first part of that question. Yeah.
Security for children? I think that was the joke one. Maybe we'll go with the, where do you see them in 10 years? Go ahead.
The security thing?
Let's
This is like a blocking rehearsal. This could take a while.
I think that was the joke. That was the joke getting in. Security with children mobbing you. That was the question. Let's talk about where do you see yourself in 10 years.
No, I don't mind punching a kid. I have no.
Next question. Thank you. Right here, sir. You have a microphone here.
There's the headline.
Hi. For the Russos, you guys have shown amazing restraint in what you haven't revealed about this film so far. How did not having sort of feedback to trailers and major set pieces, how did that affect you putting the film together and putting its final touches on without sort of having that audience feedback coming from trailers that show more of the film?
You know, look, at the end of the day, my brother and I, we came to this material because we're fans. We grew up loving the comics. We came to the series. We came to the MCU already fans of the MCU. So the thing that, like, the energy we move on is our own passion and our own excitement, and that's how we tell stories. We learned long ago that you have to tell stories for yourself. You can't be thinking about how others might receive them. So for Joe and I, because we have such an intimate relationship with the material, because we have so many amazing collaborators, starting with Kevin, we are able to just really fashion the story around what we want to see as fans. How do we surprise ourselves? How do we excite ourselves? How do we challenge ourselves? How do we force ourselves to keep digging deeper and keep exploring this narrative and these characters in ways we never imagined? That's how we guide ourselves through the process. And while once the film is complete and we put it out in the world, we really have no idea how it's going to be received. You know, and then sort of once that complete film is experienced and digested and responded to, I think that's the moment where we are then filled up with a reaction. But as we're executing, once we conceive the film and start executing, we're not really second guessing what we're doing. We're really focused on chasing the initial vision that we had for it.
Was that Titan Continuous? I think we were on a set for what seemed like 4 years, so that was Titan Continuous. I just love the lighting in that scene. I look so shredded.
Emotionally shredded?
I was more shredded than a julienne salad, man. No, I make a lot of faces. I need some help in the editing, and it was one of those moments of, this is the most serious thing that's happened since you were 9. Now, don't F this up. And I remember the brothers were there. I think we restaged it once or twice. Anyway, it was crazy to shoot it, but it was just another day, and then we were at lunch and doing stuff, you know, because it's a movie. But then I think seeing it, and I happened to see it with this amazing kid, the Scottish kid who couldn't go to a theater, so I saw it with him, and his reaction really, like, effed me up. So I think what a lot of us are looking forward to is, like Kevin always says, it's that surprise and delight experience with Endgame. But it's one of those things where you go like, wow, I think we just made a pretty serious choice here. And but I think audiences like that. I think audiences are so smart and now so they require to not be fed the same drivel as even 20 minutes ago. It's like we need novelty, and I think that what the Russos and Kevin have tried to do is provide that in spades.
One word, guys. You want to?
Do you have one?
Do you want to
You
put
have
a
one?
conference
I can't
before you
get
come
Don's
on?
long out of my mind now. So
Which one?
I would.
You want us to come back to you after the next question?
yeah, we'll work on it.
Always go with your first choice.
Joe and I are going to sidebar on this.
Okay, do a sidebar. We'll come back to you though.
Yeah, but let's say powerful, and then we're done with the question.
Check this young gentleman.
Hi, this question's for Chris Evans. So in the past few films like Civil War and Infinity War, now Endgame, you see your character being able to interact with different characters. And because you're Captain America, you always have this tendency to be a leader and be a captain. How does that change or maintain continuity as you meet other characters like Captain Marvel or Black Panther, who are both leaders in their own way?
Sure, I think he tends to lean on those people who are of like mind and nature, who kind of are intrinsically selfless. I mean, all the heroes up here have their baked in the cake flaws, and I think a lot of that makes for really good conflict and storytelling. That's why my favorite stuff in this arc has been my stuff with Downey, because we are such a dichotomy between how we approach things, but at the end of the day, our hearts are both in the right places, but provides a lot of great friction. But introducing characters like Captain Marvel and like Black Panther, people who also kind of align very similarly to Cap's nature, I think it creates a nice, it reinforces Cap's sense of purpose and home. It's an environment that it feels more natural for him. So I think it's nice to see the certain pockets where he feels at peace, and the certain pockets where he feels, his buttons might be getting pushed.
Actually, I wanted to ask the Russos, speaking of the shawarma scene, people have come to anticipate what's going to happen during the end credits, and I'm sure this film will be no different. I'm just wondering how many of the extra scenes will appear in the end credits and at the very end.
Unfortunately, we can't answer that question. However, I did think of a word. I think I came up with a word. Cathartic.
Cathartic. Thank you. Bree, you like to call us up?
And I'm sorry we couldn't answer that question, but we just...
Oh, right here.
We don't want to give any context away.
Here we go.
This question is for Anthony and Joe. So I'm 12 years old, and I often make short films with my friends. I aspired to be a director when I grew up. What skills do you think it takes to direct an amazing movie like Avengers Endgame?
That's a great
awesome question.
First of all, congratulations, because you started making films more than 10 years before we did. That's very impressive.
I think, you know what, we love your initiative, and I think that's really, when anybody asks us about getting started, it's doing what you're doing. It's picking up a camera and it's shooting. You have iPhones now, you can, Steven Soderbergh just shot an entire movie on an iPhone, and you have free distribution on YouTube, and you can put things out there. We, discovered Donald Glover for Community on YouTube, so it's much easier now, I think, for people's voices to be heard and seen than it was when we started, and you had to go out and get a camera and buy a really expensive film and figure out how to get it developed. And so I think, find a story that you want to tell, be really passionate about it, care about it, and then go out and tell that story. And I think that's really the secret to being a successful filmmaker.
Please join me in thanking the cast and filmmakers of Avengers Endgame. Thank you, John.